Good evening and welcome. Hi, I'm Bob Pace, your host, and tonight we are going to fight CPS and stop taking our children. I welcome you all from across the world, from the United States and all the countries everywhere you're receiving this. You have found me on Facebook, Fight CPS Bob Pace, and I'm glad you found this podcast. This is a live podcast, and it is interactive podcast, meaning that you can be a part of this podcast and interact with it. Now, we all have something in common. CPS, that is the child protection system I call, that handles neglect and abuse of our children through a branch of the social services. It's also supposed to help out with aid to families in the areas of food, education, medical, clothing, housing, and a job. Furthermore, if your family has to be broken apart because there's a glitch in your one of your family members, then the purpose of the CPS system is also to do family reunification. Family reunification is the best way for families. It is proven that the biological parents are the best parents for children. The biological parents are the best children. So, this agency, which is a federal government agency, has been around for a long time. It's supposed to protect our children. But what has happened lately, it seems more children are endangered, and children that are not endangered and families are broken apart because this agency has become foul, meaning that they've discovered money. Money is the driving force behind the CPS system. Now, I mentioned this in an interactive podcast, so I should tell you there are 4 ways to interact. One way is just being in this room, listening and taking notes, and also you can express emojis like thumbs up, hearts, smiley faces. Also down below, please check the subscribe button. And if you want a notification, check the notifications. Now, I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. I come on at 7 o'clock in the morning for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. And then I come on again in the evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that repeats itself every day of the week, Monday through Sunday. So that's 14 shows that I'm on. But there's one exception. On Sunday, I come on at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of at 10. I come in 2 hours earlier so that I could go to church with my family. So I go to church with my family. There may be other days during the week, or sometimes I may change it, but I'll let you know. This is football season. Friday Night Lights, I follow high school football, especially when my son's playing. And luckily, his game is in Hawaii on Saturday at 6:30 Hawaiian time, 9:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the game will be after my Saturday podcast. So I have plenty of time to watch the game and cheer him on as I cheer on the other boys. So tonight I do watch Friday Night Football, but after the show. I have a great interest in football. I played it and I love it. It's a great sport for boys. And girls. Girls play flag football. And yes, girls have played contact football. So I'm glad that you're in my room. And I'm glad you're listening. And I will try to make your experience worth your while. I have a lot of knowledge about the child protection system and what to do and not to do. I have some rules to talk about. I can give you some helpful hints to get your children back, because you're dealing with a very corrupt system. They're not transparent. They're not your friend, and they will betray you, and they also will create revenge. They traffic your children into foster care. That's illegal. They alienate your children from you parents. Again, that's illegal. They do that purposely. It's a $1 trillion dollar business where their whole goal is to make money. The way they get the money is the federal government gives money unaccounted for. There's no board of directors. There's no governors. There's no supervisors. There is supervision, but the supervision is lacking. The directors are lacking because it's all focused around how much money they can make on. So as soon as they get your child, they're not going to let them stay at home. They think they're in immediate danger. That's wrong. If they're not in immediate danger, they don't come home. I mean, they don't come to foster care, and they try to do that. Now, another way of interacting with this podcast is that you may want to ask a question or make a comment. Now, I'll put up on the screen about how to do a comment. Now, I am broadcasting on YouTube. I'm using the StreamYard application. There should be a comment section to your right that you can put in a question or a comment about the child protection system. Please show your name. Now, a lot of you may already have a name listed on your Facebook page or YouTube page. And if it's a common name like Mary, Kathy, Betty, Mark, Sue, Bob, whatever, then that's fine. But a lot of you have things like jumping hippopotamus or psychedelic butterflies or running with eagles. Those names are great. I know you're trying to demonstrate a cause, but they're hard to address. So put your first name and when you start off with your question or comment. Also, list the city or the state that you're from. I'm trying to picture throughout the United States where the pockets of good CPS is and bad CPS is. Also include the state. Furthermore, if you're from a country, I also like to see your city and your country. I have about 13 countries that have spoken so far about their CPS case. I've had Bangladesh, India, New Delhi, India, and then I've had the continent of Africa, where I have Liberia in the northwest along the coast, South Africa on the south, the province on the west coast, Rwanda, which is a small country near Lake Victoria that went through a brutal civil war where 1 million people were slaughtered and murdered and killed, and over 500,000 women were raped. Females were raped. It was a horrific time, but they recovered. Then I go down to Mozambique, which is on the east coast above South Africa, down from Somalia, opposite Madagascar. Then I move over to Europe, and I have England, Scotland, Wales, part of the United Kingdom. And then I got Denmark and Sweden. Then across the Pacific, I have North America. I have Canada on both several of the provinces like British Columbia, like Vancouver, Alberta, those kinds of provinces they have in Canada. Then I've had all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., either call in or text in with their case. So I have a good feeling of where the bad spots are and the good spots are. I've heard from some remote places like the Rosebud Reservation next to the Pine Reservation in South Dakota. That's the home of the Lakota Sioux. I've had another Indian from the Cherokee who are now in Oklahoma. They used to be in Florida, in the Osage, and several other Indian tribes. There is a part of the Child Protective Services that deals with Native American children. They have an act called the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978 that explains what the purpose is. And I will say the purpose is to make sure that families are reunified with their children. What that means is for a long time, they would take the children, but they would never do any effort to reunify the children with the family. So this act was passed, which means if the Child Protection System can verify that you are a current member or could be registered as a current member of the 548 federal tribes recognized by the U.S. government. And I'm not talking about the First Nation people up in Canada. The Canadians have a different Indian program. They call their Indians the First Nation. We call ours the Native American Indians. They're the first immigrant that settled in our country. They're the first immigrant. So there's a wealth of information I have. So as we go down south to Mexico, I had one person called in looking for their daughters up there. They were in Louisiana, and I was able to help him pinpoint how he could locate his daughters. He was calling from Mexico City. Then further down in South America, I've had the country of Guyana, which is east of Venezuela, north of Brazil, on the east coast of South America. Then across the Pacific to the land down under, I've had Australia. Those countries have all participated in comments here on the podcast. So I've had a lot of interest in people, a lot of interest in people. Now, please, when you are dealing with your comments, that you are very complete with your CPS case. What I mean by that, it's very difficult to know everything at once. So I don't expect to know everything at once. Now, you may start off by introducing yourself and your location and just say what your makeup of your family is. Are you a husband, wife? Are you lovers, a girlfriend, boyfriend, partners? Are the parents the same parents of the children? For instance, are there several different parents that are parents of the children? Furthermore, are both parents involved? For instance, one parent may be a single parent, the other parent's left. And so that would help me explain your situation. Also, the ages of children, the sexes of children. I have 3 boys, 3 young boys, or I have 4 girls and 2 boys. Anyway, and then you can say I have teenagers and young children. That helps me it saves a lot of time because I don't have to go back and forth and play ping pong ball with you, ask you a question, and then you answer, and I ask another, and you answer. So if you could do that to complete about your family, then I'd like to know the allegations besides neglect and abuse, a little bit more detail on the allegations. And then further, were your children taken from your home? Were your children taken from your home, and how were they taken? And lastly, where are you at on your case? Are you at the beginning, the middle, or the end? So that's what I mean by be complete with your case. This holds true if you phone call in too. If you phone call in too, you need to be complete. So that's the second way of interacting with this podcast. Now, the third way is to be a guest on my show. I've had some guests a couple of days ago. I had a lady from West Virginia. And so I can have up to 9 guests on the show, including me, make it 10. This application will handle 10 people with the individual screen and everything. We'd be kind of smushed, I think. I've had 4, and that worked out pretty good. I've had 4, and that worked out pretty good. Now, to schedule as our guest, all you got to do is email our show producer. Her name is Grace. She works behind the scenes. She's a hard worker, and she helps me making my show successful. She also will handle the guest, how they get them on the show. All you will do is email her with one of my 14 show times, either Sunday morning or Wednesday evening, you pick out one of the 14 shows, put an email to her, and then send it to grace@vincentwdavis.com. grace@vincentwdavis.com. It's right there on my screen. And she will contact you and tell you how to be a guest on my show. She'll give you a link. Don't lose the link. It's still good if you suddenly are on and then bounced off. Save that link because that will get you on the show. Also, she'll tell you what you can do and not do on the show. We don't allow eating, smoking, even eating nuts or candy or ice or anything that makes noise. We don't want that to detract from the show. There's also no names given for children, judges, or social workers. No names. It's important that you have a good internet connection. It's okay to use your phone. The best, though, is an internet connection hardwire with a computer. And make sure your lighting is adjusted and your microphone is adjusted so we can hear you. And then you'll be able to be live as a guest and be able to talk to other people and talk with me and help other people. But that's the third way to be a guest. I look forward to seeing you. Just send an email to grace@vincentwdavis.com. Now we're going to get to my phone. My phone now is live. That means you can talk to me during the show on my phone by calling in at, let me get that up so you can see it, at 626-698-0990. That's my office phone number. It'll ring my phone. We use Vonage, which is the software application we use to talk on the phone. I only talk during my show time. So if you call me before my show time or after my show time, leave a message. I'll text you back with the hours that you can talk to me. That's 626-698-0990. That's the call-in number. Also, you can send in stars if you like the podcast and help out. Stars you can send in there. So those are the 4 ways. 1, you can be just listening in the podcast. 2, you can text comments. 3, you can be a guest. And 4 is the phone. Now, my podcast has lots of directions we can go on. It's pretty much geared to you all how you want to do. So, one guest I try to is on a regular basis. Her name is Faye. She's from Richmond, Kentucky. She has had 2 children in her life. One she was forced to give up through no fault of her own. And she's trying to get custody of her son who needs special needs. She's had a rough life because her years as a child was in and out of foster care 5 different times, where she was abused, molested, raped, and sex trafficking in foster care, which is a shame because it does exist. I'm really sad to say that CPS is not a good organization right now. From the people that I talk to, there have been 3 workers that have called in that have said how their CPS and how they do things. One was a clinical psychiatrist from Maryland who talked for 40 minutes, and she had further training with Maryland 6 months. Another one was from Indiana, and she was a third-party social worker, and she did say there is problems with the CPS. The third one was a foster care mother who does not do adoption, that does care about families and does want to really help out families. So it's interesting. So I've heard from there. I've not heard from any policemen yet, but I'm sure that social workers and police listen to my podcast because it's worldwide. I really appreciate the good policemen and the good social workers that try to do a good job. But I'm sorry to say that it seems almost 90% of the people I talk to on here have had trouble with CPS or the police. I personally did myself because I too was in foster care. Now, I'm a family man. I'm a dinosaur, meaning that I've been around a long time and I'm older than I look or older than I feel. But I got involved in CPS in 2010. Good evening.
Hello?
Hello, who am I speaking to?
Hi, Bob.
Hi, is this Natalie?
No, this is KK.
Oh, KK, I'm sorry. You and Natalie sound the same. This is KK Richardson from Brooklyn, New York, correct?
Yes.
I had an interesting lady yesterday morning from Brooklyn, New York. Her real name was Brittany, but she had a screen actor's name of Catherine. I forgot what it was, but her children were kidnapped, and she was telling about her awful time there, and she was going to get back to me, but I haven't heard from her. I asked her about you, but she didn't say she knew, but she said she was having a terrible time with CPS being so corrupt. So how's your case doing, KK?
I was just getting ready to enlighten you with all the loads of crap I've been dealing with.
Wow.
As you know, we go back to court on the 17th, which is Tuesday, for the rest of fact-finding. And we, at this time, the ACS or CPS is testifying. They have their last witness, which is the ACS worker that refused to acknowledge the fact that my children were being abused in the first placement. But yet, when I got the delivered service logs, and again, thank you, Mr. Davis and Ms. G, I realized because social workers are covered under immunity unless you can prove that it was done under malice or retaliation, that is what I've proven.
They lie.
So now,
they lie. You know that.
So now that I have the delivered service logs, nobody wants to talk to me. Not the foster care agency, not the CPS worker, not the office of the commissioner, and not the Office of Family and Children Services here in New York, especially without my attorney present, because they finally realized all 62 reports that I made regarding the best interests of my children have been proven to be done out of retaliation, biased, suppressed evidence, and custodial interference. So now that they know that I have proof, I have reached out to the NAACP. I have reached out to the office of, oh my gosh, what is his name? He's one of the big civil rights attorneys here in New York. He's like Mr. Davis in New York. Ben Crump.
Okay.
So I've reached out to him, and I'm waiting on his office to respond because I feel like in my sickness with all the medical things I have going on, and I'm basically running myself down trying to get my children home, I have proven exactly what I needed to prove. And when we go back for fact finding, my attorney would like to put in a motion for dismissal on grounds of bias, basically. And if you consider the allegation to be, mental impairment, legally, with my rights intact, I make all medical, educational, and therapeutic decisions for my children.
Great.
So if I'm mentally impaired, that means you guys have to take accountability for allowing me to, one, make these decisions. And if you're not going to admit to that ownership, then two, you have to admit to your negligence and lack of guardianship, because either way, you're wrong.
Okay.
So I'm just like,
question, KK. What did Mr. Davis do for you? What did Mr. Davis do for you?
He has shown me many ways to obtain the evidence I need, such as the delivered service logs. I also requested the social workers' notes, which implicated them keeping evidence out of discovery that could have possibly gotten my children home way sooner.
Oh, I'm so glad that he's able to help you. For all you listeners out there, this attorney that we're talking about, Mr. Vincent Davis, is a really good attorney. He's been my attorney and helped me get my children back. Now, he owns the law firm that produces this podcast. It's Vincent W. Davis and Associates. He has many attorneys dealing with all areas of law. So if you want a divorce or you want something with your work records or property problems, anything, but he is a child protective system attorney, meaning he has fought CPS. He is a family, juvenile dependency lawyer. I went forgetting Georgette. He has on staff a lot of good people, including myself, that do help you out there, the listeners. And so I really want to commend Vincent Davis and thank him for what he does. And it's like this is really good kudos to hear that he has helped you a little bit. And Vincent, by the way, will help anybody no matter where you are. He has a case in Northern California. He has several cases in Southern California, and he has a case in Oklahoma, but he'll help out people like KK in New York. And this is a good time.
All the platforms. Mr.
Right.
Bart,
good.
You,
good.
Cynthia, Mr. Odette, Ms. Patrica, like without you guys, these last 4 years, I wouldn't have made it this far, and I'm very, very appreciative.
Well, I'm glad that we're here to help you, because this is a law firm that cares. And I like to mention I like to mention my rule number 1. You need to have an attorney. I don't know how important I tell you, but fighting CPS is like doing open heart surgery. You need a professional doctor to do open heart surgery. You certainly can't use a plumber or an auto mechanic to work on your heart. So you need a professional family juvenile dependency lawyer, which Mr. Davis is. He has 35 years of experience. He's a trial attorney. He's also won civil cases in state and federal court and got millions of dollars back for your constitutional and civil rights that are violated, because CPS will do that. CPS is bad. I don't know how they emphasize this. And KK has been fighting this a long time. She also went back to school and got a law degree in dependency law so that she can fight her case, because she realizes how important her children are. So I'm just so glad you shared that with me. And
thank you, Mr. Faith. You guys have been so great. You have no idea how you've helped me on this journey. I wanted to give up many times, but Miss Faye, thank you so much. Miss Danielle, even though you're not there, thank you so much. Like everybody, thank you guys. Thank you.
Faye just came in the room. She's been busy. She helps a lot of people all day long. She is a wonderful mother. She's from Richmond, Kentucky. She's listening to you right now, KK. And so I'm so glad that she's there.
Thank you.
But KK has now with the help of a lot of people, have got now the the CPS on the ropes, as you might want to say, right?
Absolutely. Got them against the ropes. Like, this is why nobody wants to talk to me. And for somebody at the ACS Office of the Commissioner, for them to tell me I cannot speak to anybody without an attorney present, and that's what I've been trying to do, they know they have messed up drastically. If the word that she used was I've been burned in New York City. So no city agency or affiliated agency wants to speak to me until my attorney is present, when I've been asking for a meeting with all the attorneys to be present since March.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you called in. I've been wondering every day when I do my podcast, I always think about you, KK, and pray that you will resolve your case, because, there's always heartworking when you hear that the corrupt CPS, the child protection system, is so corrupt out there, can finally be stopped at something in there. And so
it's just really sad that they use these children as dollar signs to separate and destroy these families, and especially in the poverty, the people that are kind of like within the below the poverty level, or people of the Black, brown, and beige demographic. I really think that it's unfair. We are biased against based on upbringing, cultural background, financial stability, educational input. It's sad. It's sad that we as we're basically the majority, but are still considered the minority. And even though we lack certain things when it comes to knowing, our rights, or knowing what we are entitled to as a whole and as a citizen in this country, you cannot tell people these are the things they have to do to show you they have adequate parenting skills, and you don't even have children yourself.
Wow. Going back to Mr. Davis, right? I forgot to tell our listeners that if you want to talk to him and have a consultation with Mr. Davis for 30 minutes, you have to contact him on the internet. Now, I have put up at the bottom of my page, there is, if you want to book a Zoom consultation, a discounted Zoom consultation with attorney Vincent Davis for up to 30 minutes, you need to go to https://candidly, CALENDLY.com/APPTSVWD/Bob Pace, BOBPACE. That's where you can book a discounted rate of only $60 for 30 minutes. $60 for 30 minutes. And he will meet with you on Zoom and help steer you in the right direction. I have another number on my screen that is yellow and orange background. It's 888-888-6582. That's my law office. And that's where, if you want to set up to be retained, Mr. Davis, you would call in. Make sure when you call in that number, you mention Bob Pace, and they'll tell you the rate, and you can retain Mr. Davis. But if you want to talk to a Zoom consultation, you need to go to that website. You need to go to that website. Now, Faye has some other things. Faye has said, I'm putting it up now, Bob, can you tell KK to contact Facebook Messenger? Do you know how to contact Faye on Facebook Messenger?
I was just sending a message to see if I could. I do a podcast at least once a week on Facebook Live. It's a public page called Kay's Corner, and I usually talk about some of these things too, and the things that I've been going through. If you can interact. Yeah, I will. She further says, I like to brainstorm with KK on her case. Thank you, Miss Faye.
Yeah, she liked to brainstorm because what this news that if everybody who's listening, right, when you're listening to this news, this is good news. This is where KK has put the CPS on the ropes, and they have known they've done wrong, and now she's gotten to them. And so I think it's only going to get better from here, because your goal is to get, you have 2 sets of twins, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No. I have my 2 daughters, 11 and 9.
Okay. She has 2 daughters, 11 and 9, and she's trying to get her daughters back. And they made promises a couple months ago that they would, but they never kept their promises.
Thank you.
I do listen, KK.
I did. You come and say, Mr. Bob, that I did look for her on Facebook, but I'm not finding her.
Okay, Faye, FAY B dot Maddley, MANNEY, Maddie, Madney, MANNEY, Faye B dot Maddley, MANNEY. MANNEY.
Got it. Let me see. I should be able to. Okay. I found her. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, good. So what else you have for me, KK?
Well, like I said, I just can't wait to finish fact finding and just drop the mic. Like, I'm so relieved. This is one of the first Fridays in 14 months that I'm not having an issue of, orders of contempt, violations of the order, parental alienation, or, canceling visits and invading on parental, unification or parenting time. It feels really good to know that this fight wasn't for nothing and that I did not, grind myself to the ground, to the bone, just to let my kids know I'm still here. Mom is still here.
That's good.
To stop me, but I will not stop. All I know is how to fight, and you guys don't deserve this. I will continue to fight.
Well, Faye says awesome. Faye says awesome.
Thank you. You guys you have no idea how much, I don't want to be emotional because
I understand. It's so hard when you're facing CPS, you're really alone. You're really alone.
Oh my goodness. It's so good to know that you're not alone. Even all the way across the coast, to the next coast, to the Midwest. I have help.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I had to go halfway across the continent to get the reassurance to know that I am not losing my mind, that the things that I am saying are real, and I am not the only one.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's unbelievable that everything is coming together. How you have no idea. I want to just keep thanking everybody and to let everybody else know, you guys just keep fighting. These kids' innocence is worth it, and families need to be together.
They say that the biological parents are the best parents to raise children.
Yes, we are. Kids don't come with a manual. Every child is not the same, but we learn as we go. So it's a teaching mechanism in progress on a daily basis. you learn something new every day from your children.
Yeah, I agree there. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There was a case I had on my show called the Right to Lie case. It was October 7th, 2016 in Pasadena. Hold on a second. I don't know if I can take Faye too. Hold on. Let me see if I can. I don't think I can add it. Faye? I don't know if I can add you or not.
Like that, we can take turns.
Are you still there, KK?
I'm still here, yes.
I was trying to take Faye's call, but I don't know if I can
So
do.
the first thing, you want me to hang up so she could call in, and then I could text in like she was.
Let me see. Let me go back to what she's saying here. Faye, if you can hear me, she has some good news. Okay. Could you hang up, KK? And Faye, can you call me on my office phone? Call me at 6
Okay, no
to
problem.
6. Thank you, KK.
No problem. Hanging up.
Okay, Faye, you can call in on my office phone. You can call in on my office phone. It's 626-698-0990.
Up.
Hello, Faye. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I heard that you have some good news, and KK wanted to hear it too, so she hung up so we can talk.
Yeah, I was trying to call in on the other phone so that I could talk and she could hear what I was saying. But where she said to tell parents not to give up, to keep fighting. Well, my case is 12 years old, and I've been fighting ever since my case ended on May 5th, 2015. And so today, after 12 years, I have finally been able to get my case re-looked at and reopened.
Oh my God, it came through. Was that from who? The ombuds person, or who is it from?
They're investigating it, and they're reopening my case.
Oh, congratulations, Faye. I am so happy. To all your listeners out there, Faye has some good news. Boy, tonight is good news night. First, KK Richardson said that she had good news where she was doing a fact funding and found out that now the CPS in Brooklyn, New York is on the ropes, and she has a hearing come up. And now Faye has heard news from her ombudsperson in the state of Kentucky, who now is reopening her case. And she says that she's been trying since 2015, which is almost 10 years.
Yeah, May 6, 2015. But this is stemming all the way back to 2001.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic news. Thank you, ladies, for telling me that. And it was just persistence. I remember talking to Faye. I said, you got to keep trying and keep trying. The other day, we were calling Congress, and we actually reached the operator at Congress who put us in with one of the senator's office, Senator Schumer there. And I left a message with him about what, it's kind of funny, Faye. I wonder if that phone call to Senator Schumer's office had anything to do with it, because I did tell him about you in Kentucky. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either. I just know that, I've been trying to get somewhere with this for the last, 15, 20 years. And then my second case, which involved both my kids, tried to get help for years through the ombudsman's office when it was actually under the corrupt cabinet. Now that they've moved it out from under the corrupt cabinet, now people are actually getting heard and listened to, and their complaints took seriously, and unbiased persons are looking into the cases.
That's good news. That's good news. So what's the next step? What's the next step?
Well, I don't want to speak on that yet because I don't know that quite yet. When I do know something, I will update that.
Okay. Well,
but I'm hopeful that it will involve me being able to have some contact with my child.
Oh, wow. You see, for some of our listeners who don't know, Faye, who was abused as a small child 5 separate times in CPS, later had 2 children, and she had a young daughter that she had to make a choice to give up or keep her son, who's a special needs child. And so she had to keep her son because of what he needed. So she had to see her daughter off. Also, Kentucky is a state that has a crazy thing called say goodbye to your kid without showing emotion. And I don't understand that at all, but she had to do that. And her face.
Well, let me explain that to parents, Bob.
Yes, go ahead.
A goodbye visit. Let me explain that. What a goodbye visit is in my state. I don't know if they have it in other states. I think they do because I've heard other parents in other states talk about it. Is what they do is when your rights have been terminated or are being terminated, they set a date for you to spend an hour with your children. The last hour you'll ever get to spend with them. And in that visit, you're not allowed to show any emotions. You're not allowed to tell your children anything about the case. You're not allowed to tell your kids that you're never going to see them again. We're supposed to be calm and unemotional and sit there with your children knowing this is going to be the last time that you ever see them.
Yes, I know how much it hurts, Faye. I know. I could never do that. That to me is unconscionable. That is unconscionable.
I did it for my kids. I did it. But it was the hardest thing I have ever done in my entire life.
I know.
So.
Yeah, it really is. It's a sad state that an agency in Kentucky would be that ungrateful and unemotional to allow parents to have to go through that emotional. You see, when children are born, there's a special bond with a mother, a child. When the baby comes out of her uterus, she is placed on the mother's chest, and the baby's first eyes are her mother, and she is first breast. She tries to suck us from her mother. There's that special bond that a baby, builds with the mother. And if the father's present, the baby's hands can reach around the father's fingers. I've experienced that seeing my children born. And the best parents are the biological parents. Those children grow up. I remember when my children were young, and every time I come home from work, from the minute they could walk, they loved to jump in my arms, each of them. At one time, I could almost get all 3 of them in my arms. But I used to lift up each of them one at a time and hug them to death. And I'll never forget that emotion. There's nothing that can take that away. And one of my children has been ripped from me. And I have not seen her since she's been 12 years of age. And I know what that feeling is to lose a child. And I know CPS is corrupt. And someday when I get the money saved up, I may sue CPS for the social worker that committed perjury on the stand, that had my daughter change her name, divorce her parents, and seal her birth certificate and be adopted by a foster care family. That is the worst feeling when you lose your child. And I know how it hurts you, Faye. But if there's any solace, if you believe in God, I think one day you will be able to see your daughter. Just like I hope one day to see my daughters too. And I know how hurt for all you listeners out there. I know all of you are going through a similar thing. And we have about 10 minutes left of my podcast here. I'm open to anything anybody wants to talk to. I talked about my rule number 1 about having an attorney and how important it is to have an attorney. I know you all can't afford one. A lot of you can't. I had to sell my home. I lost my home I worked 40 years for. And someday I may get a home again. And someday soon I'll have my job and rebuild my life again, because I know what it is to lose a child. Because you never forget them. There isn't a night I don't say my prayers for my child. I fall asleep, but I have dreams of one day sitting with my family of 8 at the dining room table and having a meal together. I always dreamed of that with my 6 children. But that may not happen. So anyway, I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful for sharing the stories on the podcast. I wish I could do more to help you. I wish all you that are listening can, wave a magic wand and say everything will be better. Everything will be better. It's a rough world out there with the Child Protection Agency. I don't know if I mentioned tonight about the 8 pink ladies. The type of social workers out there, I'm sad to say, aren't really nice. These 8 ladies from Prescott, Arizona in the year 2022 decided to buy pink t-shirts, and on the front had it stenciled, "Professional Child Kidnappers." The word professional child kidnappers. And on the back of their shirt, it said, "Do you know where your children at?" And they paraded around at Costco and Walmart and Target and Best Buys, all the big major stores. It was an outcry in Prescott. They fired the social workers and they fired the director of the social workers. But that didn't resolve anything, because then it made that agency down to one person to take care of all the needs of children that are being abused. I'm not saying abolish social workers or abolish CPS. I just say that it needs to be accountable for their actions. They need to think first of the family and the needs of the family and the children. Not everybody is a bad family. Not every child's a bad child. But they seem to be chasing the good families and taking children that aren't in imminent danger. My children were not in imminent danger. They were in school when they were taken from us. They were in school. But the MO out there right now is they'll call up the police, who they use as intimidators, and pressure you to give up your child on a silly allegation that may not be true or it's been far-fetched. They need to make changes. They should no longer accept call-in. If you want to complain or report suspected abuse or neglect, you send in a formal letter and you sign that letter. Your name is kept in confidence, because if it proves that's false accusations, then it should be released so that you can be prosecuted. I think if everybody knew that they would be prosecuted, I think they'd think twice about putting in a false accusation. Furthermore, we need accountability where people got to answer if they do something bad. Those pink t-shirts should never been let out of the office. That was known by people in the office. That was wrong. And every day, Faye has a list, or she's made memorial of all these young children that died in CPS's hands. I think she's up to 30 of them. That while they were in the care of CPS, they were killed. We don't need to have our children killed. It's hard enough out there, us families that are trying to make a living or take care of our families or feed our families. It is really, really hard. So we really got to be careful. And it should not be you're guilty. You should be innocent till you're proven guilty. That's the mistake that CPS does. Right away, they hear something, it's hearsay, but you're found guilty. And they want to go right away because they know they can make money by having your children in foster care and adopted off. They want to prove that you're mentally unstable, and they want to take your child real quick and terminate your parental rights. So you got to be careful. You got to have an attorney that knows what they're doing. You got to be careful. I don't know how else to say it because I only have a short time, but I'm on twice a day. And a lot of my shows give you all my 5 rules. They all tell you about my case and what happened to me and how my daughter was abused and how she was taken to divorce and emancipate because she's in California, you're allowed at 12 to emancipate your parents. It's really important that you do a research. So that's my rule number 4. You research the internet about everything you need to know about CPS. There's so much there that will help you. You type in your city, and if it's a small city, let's say you're in Athens, Georgia, then put Atlanta and Athens, Georgia. Then put CPS, just put CPS. And then after that, whatever you want to find, the dependency court, the procedures in taking your child, how do you get your child back? What are the judges? You need to look at who your judge is and study and see if the judge is a good judge or a bad judge. You need to know the ways to make complaints and grievances. You need to really learn a lot. And I say in my rule number 4, spend 60 hours of studying your case. I didn't do that. I didn't use the internet. I should have. I should have got an attorney right away. I did get Mr. Davis. And he got back my 2 boys, but I lost my daughter. And maybe if I got him right away, I would never have done it. If I knew what I knew now, my kids never would have been taken out of the home or taken from class. I would never have opened up my house to them. I thought I could believe in a government agency, and I guess I was mistakenly wrong. It's very important that you really study, just like we have 2 candidates for president. You need to look at them closely. What can get you? We need to look at a lot of things. We need to get gas prices down. We need to get our food prices down. We need to strongly, I love the red, white, and blue. And God bless America. I love our country. And we need a leader with experience that knows how to stand up to world leaders, that has that experience. And I want to sign off by saying thank you to KK for sharing your good news. Thank you, Faye. Boy, a double whammy tonight. 2 good news from 2 beautiful people. Thank you all for listening and coming to my show. It's now 8 o'clock, and I have to end my podcast. And I'll be on again Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time to continue and to talk more about you all with your cases. I really care, and I pray for you. So do not give up. Keep